All right, let's dive in. Have you ever thought about starting a business but felt overwhelmed by the whole idea?
Yeah, it can definitely feel daunting.
Well, today we're exploring the $100 Startup by Chris Guillebeau. It's packed with stories about regular people who launched businesses on a shoestring budget.
It's pretty inspiring, right?
Totally. It challenges the whole "you need a ton of money to start a business" myth.
Definitely. The $100 startup focuses on the core principles of entrepreneurship, which are applicable no matter what you're selling.
It's refreshing to hear that. So, what are some of these core principles?
Well, one of the key ideas is what Guillebeau calls the magic formula.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the magic formula?
He suggests finding the intersection between your passion or skill and something that's genuinely useful to other people.
So it's not just about following your passion blindly. It needs to be something people actually want.
Precisely. It's about solving a real problem or fulfilling a need for your target audience.
The book is full of examples, right?
Oh, tons. Like Jaden Hare, for instance.
Okay, tell me about Jaden.
So she loved Asian cuisine and turned that passion into Steamy Kitchen, a cooking show and website.
And she started it with just $200, right?
Exactly. Now, you might think another food blog, but what set Jaden apart was the usefulness of her recipes.
Yeah, there are a lot of food blogs out there. So what made her special?
She tapped into the need for healthy, easy, and flavorful meals among busy families.
Ah, so it was about providing a solution, not just sharing her love of cooking?
Exactly. And that's what propelled her success. She now has cookbooks, TV appearances, even corporate sponsorships.
It's amazing what can happen when you find that sweet spot between passion and usefulness.
It really is.
Mm.
And that brings us to another crucial point. Selling benefits, not just features.
Okay, explain that one to me.
Sure. Gayabo even shares a story about his own travel ninja project.
I think I remember reading about that. Wasn't it about finding cheap flights?
It was. Initially, he focused on the technical side of travel hacking.
Which probably appealed to a specific audience, right? People who are really into that sort of thing.
Yeah, but for the average person, it was too much information. It flopped.
So what did he do?
He reframed it.
Mm.
Instead of focusing on the how-to, he emphasized the benefit. Incredibly cheap tickets to amazing destinations.
Ah, so he went from teaching people how to fish to just giving them the fish.
Exactly. And that's when it took off.
So it's about understanding what your customers truly want and making sure you're providing that, not just getting bogged down in the details.
Absolutely. Now, what about the whole follow your passion advice?
Right. Is that legit or is it more nuanced than that?
It's a bit of both, actually. The book acknowledges the allure of passion-driven businesses.
Like Gary Leff, right.
Yeah, the travel hacking consultant we talked about earlier. He turned his passion into a successful career.
So it can work, but I bet there are caveats.
Definitely. It's not as simple as do what you love and the money will follow.
Makes sense. What are some of the things to watch out for?
Well, take Benny Lewis, for example.
Who's Benny Lewis?
He's a polyglot who travels the world teaching languages.
Wow, that sounds pretty passion-driven.
It is. But even Benny recognized that he needed a plan. He had to consider market demand, package his knowledge in a sellable way, and market his services effectively.
So even with passion, you can't just wing it. You need to be strategic.
Exactly. And the $100 startup really drives home that action is key.
I can see that. It's easy to get stuck in planning mode.
It is. But the book emphasizes the power of launching and getting that first sale.
Why is that first sale so crucial?
It's just like a validation of your idea. Someone is actually putting their money where their mouth is.
It's a vote of confidence.
Exactly. It gives you momentum and the confidence to keep going.
It's like hitting publish on your first blog post. Scary but exciting.
Precisely. And the book is full of stories of entrepreneurs who took action and landed that first sale.
Like Nick Gatens, the photographer.
Yes, he launched his website and made a $50 print sale.
Not a fortune, but a huge psychological boost.
It was. It validated his idea and fueled his motivation.
It's a reminder that you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. Just start.
Absolutely. And speaking of journeys, the book also debunks the myth of overnight success.
I think we all need to hear that. There's no such thing as an overnight success, right?
Right. These entrepreneurs are hustlers. They actively promote their businesses, often in creative ways.
Like Allison Stanfield, right?
Yes. She sent hostage letters to launch her membership program.
Wait, what? Hostage letters?
Not real ones, of course. They were playful, attention-grabbing messages that piqued people's curiosity.
That's brilliant. Definitely memorable.
It is. And then there was John Moorfield, the architect, who offered 5-cent consultations at a farmer's market.
5 cents? Seriously.
Seriously, he knew traditional marketing wouldn't work there, so he got creative.
I bet people were lining up just out of curiosity.
Exactly. These are just a couple of examples. The book is full of stories like these.
It's inspiring. So what about pricing? Figuring out what to charge can feel like a mystery.
It can, but the $100 startup has some refreshing ideas on that. It encourages you to focus on value, not just costs or time spent.
Value-based pricing, right. But how do you actually do that?
It's about understanding the transformation your customers experience because of your product or service.
You mean focusing on the what's in it for me factor from the customer's perspective?
Russ Leslie, take Gary Leff again. He charges a flat rate for his consulting, regardless of how long it takes him.
Because he knows people are paying for the outcome, not his hourly rate.
Exactly. And the book also talks about the power of price ranges. Ever wonder why companies do that, offering different tiers for the same service?
Yeah, I've always wondered about that.
Well, it gives customers choice and often leads to a higher average sale.
So instead of asking, do you want this, you're asking, which one of these do you want?
Precisely. And the $100 startup also explores the idea of building long-term relationships with customers.
So it's not just about one-time transactions, it's about creating recurring revenue.
Exactly. Like Brian Clark of Copyblogger.
Oh yeah, the online content marketing platform.
Yep. He built a successful subscription model around his content, focusing on building a loyal customer base.
It's like creating a tribe of people who are invested in your work.
Exactly. And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore growth, sustainability, and facing those entrepreneurial fears.
Because it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right. Definitely not. Building a business can be challenging.
But also incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so exciting.
Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and practical advice in the next part of our deep dive into the $100 startup.
And we'll unpack those emotional ups and downs too, the fear, the self-doubt, all of it.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. Are you ready for some real-world inspiration? The $100 startup is full of case studies, and I picked a few that really highlight the many paths to success.
I'm all ears. Hit me with those inspiring stories.
All right, let's start with Michael, the accidental mattress mogul.
Mattress mogul. How does that even happen?
Well, he lost his corporate job during a tough time and ended up with a truckload of closeout mattresses. A friend's furniture store, you know.
A truckload of mattresses. That's not exactly a typical startup.
Right, but Michael saw opportunity instead of a burden.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What did he do?
He knew people always need mattresses. So he cut out the middleman and started selling directly on Craigslist.
So he took a problem and turned it into a solution.
Exactly. And at competitive prices, too. His business took off.
Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. What happened next?
He was able to support his family, and he even ended up exceeding his old corporate salary.
Wow. It's a great reminder that sometimes the best opportunities come when you least expect them.
It really is, and it challenges that fear of taking the leap, right?
Totally. He didn't have a fancy business plan. He just started doing it.
Exactly. Resourcefulness and adaptability in action.
Essential qualities for any entrepreneur. Okay, what about another example?
Let's talk about Sarah Young, who opened a yarn store at the worst possible time, it seemed, right in the middle of an economic downturn.
Opening a yarn store during a recession. That sounds risky.
You'd think so, right? But Sarah had a different perspective.
I'm curious, what was her angle?
She realized she wasn't just selling yarn, she was selling community, a sense of connection, a creative outlet for fellow yarn enthusiasts.
It's more than just the product itself. It's about meeting a deeper need.
Exactly. Especially during challenging times, people crave connection. And her yarn store became a haven.
So even unconventional businesses can thrive if they tap into the right need.
Absolutely. It's about understanding your audience and creating an experience that goes beyond a transaction.
Okay, I'm ready for another unconventional one.
How about the spreadsheet king of India?
The spreadsheet king. I've got to hear about this.
His name is Purna Dujarala, and he turned his mastery of Microsoft Excel into a global online business.
Seriously, spreadsheets.
You wouldn't believe it. He teaches people all over the world how to become spreadsheet wizards.
So he took a seemingly boring skill and turned it into a valuable service.
Exactly. He started small, offering help on online forums. Then he built a reputation as the Excel go-to guy.
That's amazing. It shows that any skill can be monetized if you find the right audience.
And he did all this from his home in India, connecting with clients online.
The internet has really opened up so many possibilities for entrepreneurs.
It really has. But now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the emotional side of entrepreneurship. It's not all about spreadsheets and yarn, is it?
Definitely not. It's a roller coaster of emotions.
The $100 startup doesn't shy away from that. It acknowledges the anxieties, the self-doubt that we all face.
Those moments when you question everything and wonder if you've made a huge mistake.
It's all part of the process, right? What's important is how you respond.
So how do you handle those moments?
The book encourages us to reframe setbacks as learning opportunities. Celebrate the small wins. Develop that resilience.
So it's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, and realizing that challenges are part of it.
And speaking of support, another theme in the $100 startup is community. It's so important to connect with like-minded people.
Because starting a business can be isolating, especially at first.
Exactly. Those people who get it, who've been there, can offer encouragement, advice. They can be a lifeline.
So finding your tribe, your support system, is crucial.
It really is. And not just for emotional support. These communities can also help with your business growth, sharing strategies, collaborating.
So it's about recognizing that you don't have to go it alone.
Exactly. And the entrepreneurial journey is much more enjoyable and rewarding when you have people to share it with.
Well said. Now let's get back to the book itself. The $100 Startup is more than just theory. It's a practical guide, isn't it?
It is. Full of actionable advice, inspiring stories.
It's a book that can help anyone launch a successful business, regardless of their background.
Absolutely. And it's not just about building a business. It's about creating a life of freedom, flexibility. Living a life that's aligned with your values.
It's about designing a life you love.
Exactly. And the key message is that this kind of life is within reach for anyone who's willing to put in the work.
It's about taking ownership of your future. So out of all the case studies, which ones really resonated with you?
That's a tough one. There are so many great stories, but one that stood out was Brandon Pierce, the piano teacher turned software entrepreneur.
Piano teacher turned software entrepreneur. That's an interesting combination. How did that happen?
Well, Brandon was struggling with the admin side of his piano teaching, scheduling, payments, all that stuff.
It can be a lot to juggle.
Right. So he decided to create his own software to streamline everything.
He basically created a solution for his own problem.
Exactly. And at first, it was just for himself. He had no intention of turning it into a business.
So what changed?
Other piano teachers started asking about his software, and he realized he had stumbled upon a real need.
It's amazing how often that happens. You solve your own problem and end up helping others in the process.
It's true. And within a few years, his software business was bringing in 6 figures.
Wow. Talk about a side hustle turned dream job.
It is. He was able to quit teaching and focus on his business full-time.
That's the dream, right? Turning your passion into a profitable business that gives you freedom and flexibility.
Exactly. The $100 startup is full of stories like that. But not all the entrepreneurs were driven solely by profit. Some were all about making a positive impact. What about Selena Cuff and Heritage Link Brands?
Oh, yeah. She was importing wines, wasn't she?
She was. Wines from Black-owned vineyards in South Africa.
So she combined a passion for wine with a desire to make a difference.
Exactly. She saw a lack of representation in the South African wine industry and decided to do something about it.
It's a powerful example of how business can be a force for good.
It really is. And it challenges the idea that business is only about making money.
It's about purpose, impact, and creating a legacy. Now, what about those who start with a keep it small mindset? What happens when demand explodes and they need to scale?
That's a great question. It's a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
How do you scale without losing what made your business special?
And the $100 Startup talks about different ways to manage that growth, outsourcing, building a team, even that franchising yourself idea.
Right. Franchising yourself is essentially about leveraging your skills in new ways to create multiple income streams.
So like offering online courses or consulting services.
Exactly. Expanding your reach without having to manage a huge operation.
It's about finding creative ways to scale while staying true to your vision. But growth isn't the only thing to consider. Pricing is crucial too.
Absolutely. And the $100 startup really emphasizes the importance of knowing your worth and pricing your offerings accordingly.
Because it's easy to undervalue ourselves, especially when we're passionate about our work.
It's true. We might be tempted to charge less than we deserve.
But if we do that, we're not only hurting ourselves financially, but we're also limiting our ability to grow and reach more people.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance where your prices reflect your value and resonate with your ideal clients.
So it's not just about randomly picking a number, it's a strategic decision.
Right. And pricing isn't a one-time thing. It's something you can adjust as your business evolves. But pricing is only one part of the financial picture, right? What about managing money in general?
It's essential. The $100 startup talks about managing cash flow, tracking expenses, ensuring profitability, all that good stuff.
Because without a clear understanding of your finances, you're setting yourself up for potential disaster.
It's about being in control, making informed decisions, and building a business that's sustainable.
Now, what about building a team? At some point, you might need help, right?
Definitely. And the $100 startup offers insights on how to do that, even on a tight budget.
It's about finding the right people who share your vision, empowering your team, and creating a collaborative environment.
So it's more than just filling positions, it's about finding the right fit.
But beyond team building, the $100 startup also talks about the importance of relationships in general.
Like with your customers, collaborators, mentors.
Exactly. Business is all about people, and strong relationships are the foundation of any successful venture.
It's about building trust, fostering community, and recognizing that we don't have to do everything alone.
And the $100 startup doesn't sugarcoat the emotional challenges either. Starting a business can be tough.
Those moments of doubt, fear, and even despair can be really hard to navigate.
But the book stresses the importance of developing a resilient mindset and learning from those tough times.
Embracing the journey, right? Knowing that the tough times are often where we learn the most.
And that includes self-care, too.
Hmm.
It's easy to forget about ourselves when we're busy building a business.
We need to prioritize our well-being.
Absolutely. Finding that balance between work and life is key. Now let's talk about fear of failure. It holds so many people back.
It's a big one. The thought of putting yourself out there and potentially failing can be terrifying.
But the $100 startup encourages us to reframe our view of failure. It's not the end of the world. It's a learning opportunity.
So it's about picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and using those lessons to move forward.
And developing the grit and resilience to persevere. But even beyond fear, there's the challenge of staying motivated.
When that initial excitement fades and the going gets tough.
Exactly. But the book is full of inspiring stories of entrepreneurs who faced setbacks, overcame them, and achieved their goals.
It's those stories that remind us that success isn't a straight line. There will be bumps along the way.
And the successful ones are those who keep going, even when it's tempting to quit.
Passion and perseverance are key. But what about finding that support system we talked about earlier?
Building a community, it's so important.
Because entrepreneurship can be so isolating, especially in the beginning.
It can feel like you're the only one going through those challenges, but finding a community, online or offline, can make a huge difference.
Having those people who understand what you're going through, who can offer support and encouragement, can be invaluable.
And these communities can also be great resources for business advice and collaboration.
You don't have to figure it all out alone. There are people out there who are willing to help.
Exactly. And speaking of the world we live in today, technology has made entrepreneurship more accessible than ever.
The $100 startup was written before the social media boom, but the principles are even more relevant now.
It's amazing. We have so many opportunities to create our own businesses and design our own lives.
So if you're feeling inspired, I encourage you to take that first step, explore your potential, and see what you can create.
You don't need a fortune to get started. Just a good idea, a willingness to work hard, and a bit of courage.
That's what makes the $100 startup so powerful. It shows that entrepreneurship is possible for anyone.
So go for it. Embrace the journey and see where it takes you.
Okay, let's revisit some of those amazing case studies and see what we can learn from them.
Sounds good. Like mini master classes in unconventional business,
Exactly. Who are we starting with?
Scott McMurran, the Alaska Travelgram guy.
Okay, remind me about him.
So he wasn't like a tech whiz or anything. He was working in media sales.
And you had a travel show on the side, right?
Yeah. And he had this friend, Gary, always bugging him about starting a business.
Okay, what was Gary's idea?
Well, Gary knew a ton of people who wanted to visit Alaska.
It's a beautiful place, but I hear it's expensive.
Exactly. And that's where Scott saw the opportunity.
What did he do?
He created a travel service
Yeah.
that offered discounted packages to Alaska.
So he made it more accessible for people who thought it was out of reach.
Exactly. He tapped into an existing desire and solved a problem.
It proves you don't need some revolutionary idea to start a business. Just find a need and fill it.
Right. And Scott's story also shows the power of partnership. He teamed up with his friend, Gary.
I think that's so important, having someone to collaborate with to support you.
Definitely. Okay, ready for something a little different.
Hit me with it.
Brandy Agerbeck, the graphic facilitator.
Graphic facilitator, what is that?
So she creates visuals, like in real time during meetings.
Okay, so like mind maps and diagrams to help people understand complex stuff.
Exactly. She helps groups brainstorm, solve problems, and communicate better through visuals.
That's so cool, but I bet it's hard to explain that to people.
It was. Initially, she had trouble marketing her services. People didn't get it.
What did she do?
She got really specific with her target market.
She niched down.
Totally. She realized her ideal clients weren't the executives, but the people running the meetings, the facilitators.
Because they're the ones who understand the challenges of keeping people engaged, right?
Exactly. She found her niche within a niche.
I love that. So how did she market to them?
She focused on the benefits, how her graphics could make meetings more engaging, improve communication.
She solved their pain points.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how powerful niche marketing can be.
And it worked.
Oh yeah, her business took off, proving that even unconventional skills can be valuable.
It's inspiring. So who's next?
Naomi Dunford, the marketing consultant.
Oh,
She's known for her, well, let's say blunt approach.
I'm sensing she's not your typical marketing guru.
You got it. She's bold, direct, and doesn't sugarcoat anything.
She's like the anti-guru.
Exactly. And that became her thing. People were tired of the same old marketing fluff. They wanted authenticity.
And she gave it to them.
She built a thriving business by being herself.
Hmm.
No pretending, no BS, just straight talk.
I love that. It's a reminder to be yourself. Your authentic self is your best asset.
Speaking of authenticity, how about Selena Cuff and Heritage Link brands?
Oh yeah, the wine importer. What was special about her business?
She imports and distributes wines from Black-owned vineyards in South Africa.
Combining business with a social mission.
Absolutely. She saw a lack of representation in the wine industry and decided to do something about it.
Creating positive change through business. It's so inspiring.
It really is. Now, here's a common challenge. What happens when a small business suddenly explodes? How do you scale without losing your soul?
It's a tough question. How do you maintain what made you special while growing?
Right. And the $100 startup offers a bunch of strategies. Building a team, outsourcing, even franchising yourself.
I love that concept. Can you remind me how that works?
It's about leveraging your skills in new ways, like creating online courses, offering consulting, creating multiple income streams without having to manage a huge operation.
So expanding your reach without losing that personal touch.
Exactly. But growth isn't everything.
Huh.
Sometimes staying small and focused is the best path. It's about what feels right for you.
I love that the book acknowledges that. There's no one right way to do things.
And one thing the book really emphasizes is the importance of pricing.
Pricing can be tough,
Yeah.
especially when you're just starting out. You don't want to scare people away.
Right. But undervaluing yourself hurts you in the long run. The $100 startup encourages you to focus on the value you bring. What are your services really worth?
And not just your time, but the results you deliver, the transformation you create for your clients.
Absolutely. It's about setting prices that reflect your expertise and also resonate with your ideal clients.
So it's a strategic decision, not just picking a number out of thin air.
And it's not set in stone. You can adjust your pricing as your business changes. But pricing is just one part of managing your money, right?
Definitely. The book also talks about cash flow, expenses, profitability.
It's all connected. And without a solid understanding of your finances, it's easy to get into trouble.
It's about taking control and making informed decisions.
Okay, how about building a team? That can be a big step.
It can. But sometimes you need help to take your business to the next level.
And the $100 startup offers some great advice on how to do that.
Like what?
It's about being clear on what skills you need, delegating effectively, creating a positive work environment.
Finding the right people who share your vision and can contribute to your success.
Exactly. And it's not just about the team. It's about relationships in general. Customers, collaborators, mentors.
It's about building genuine connections.
Business is all about people, and those relationships are crucial. The $100 startup really drives that point home.
And it doesn't shy away from the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship, does it?
Nope. It acknowledges the tough parts, the fear, the doubt.
But it also emphasizes the importance of resilience.
Learning from the challenges, bouncing back from setbacks,
Embracing the journey with all its ups and downs.
and taking care of yourself along the way. It's so easy to burn out when you're passionate about your business.
Self-care is essential, but it's often the first thing to go.
It is. We need to make time for rest, for things that recharge us.
It's about finding that balance. Okay, how about the fear of failure? That's a big one for many aspiring entrepreneurs.
It is. But the $100 startup encourages a different perspective.
Not seeing it as the end of the world.
Exactly. It's about reframing failure as a learning experience, an opportunity to grow.
It's about developing that grit and determination. But beyond the fear, there's also the challenge of staying motivated, of not giving up when things get tough.
You're right. But the $100 startup is full of inspiring stories of perseverance, people who faced setbacks and kept going.
They're the ones who achieve their goals, who make their dreams a reality.
It's about having a clear vision, a purpose that drives you, and connecting with that supportive community we talked about.
Because entrepreneurship can be so isolating, especially at first.
It's so important to find your people, those who understand what you're going through.
People who can offer support, encouragement, and advice. The $100 startup really highlights the power of community.
It does. It shows how much easier and more enjoyable the journey can be when you have people to share it with.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the $100 startup, what are some of the key takeaways we should remember?
I think the biggest one is that entrepreneurship is not just for a select few. It's for anyone with a good idea and the willingness to put in the work.
It's about demystifying the whole process and showing people that they can create something amazing.
Absolutely. And it's not just about making money. It's about designing a life you love, a life that aligns with your values.
It's about taking control of your future and creating something meaningful.
So if you're feeling inspired, take that first step, explore your potential, and see what you can create.
You don't need a fortune to start, just a little bit of money, a lot of heart, and the courage to pursue your dreams.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the $100 startup.
It's been a pleasure exploring these inspiring stories with you.
And we hope you've gleaned some valuable insights that will help you on your own entrepreneurial journey.
Until next time, keep dreaming big.